Hello, namaste, and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. This is a brand new offering from Sattology and based on my book Transcending the Mind and the Soul of Business. We have launched many programs for all types of industries because the problem is the same. When you're stuck with old mindset, you cannot have new skills. Very simple. And the mindset, any topic of mindset cannot go away from Yoga Sutra. It's not possible. If anyone is trying to sell you snake oil, we are going to here debunk it. So without delay, let us welcome, we have a very special guest, my friend Richard Gordon and Galit Gordon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, where we are beginning today. So first of all, let me give everyone
You have to.
the enterprise software space in 2025 looks more challenging than before. That's for sure. And the reason when I say that, because in the enterprise software space, the advent of AI is going to eliminate many customization jobs. And I know enterprise software space is filled with revenues coming from customization. Even the big softwares like Salesforce or SAP or even legacy softwares, their customization revenues are going to drop significantly. I was the first one to predict 10 years ago to say that AI is going to first eat software developers, and that is going to happen in 2025. Second thing is the old ways of project implementation are not going to survive because the long methodologies, obsolete methodologies, can only increase the revenues. They were all designed to increase the revenues, consulting revenues, and the customers bought into that. And I have a long experience. If somebody calls me CRM guru, it won't be a exaggeration because I've been involved in the CRM industry from the time of Siebel days. People know me from the Siebel days. So traveled all over the world to sell enterprise softwares. Needs were different. And now the latest buzzword is, so I'll tell you where I went come from. Thick client, anyone who understands these terms will know. Thick client, thin client, web services, browser based, personalization, and then customization obviously is a long going story, and then implementation services, and now in the cloud world, cloud based web services, consuming web services, and now AI, long industry. So Mr. Gordon and Ms. Galit, what do you bring on now? What do you say? What is your point? What you want to say,
Sure.
please?
Thoughts are, and you touched on a lot of things which come back to the mindset. And it's like I always look at across all industries, like you said, have consistencies. So consistencies, you use the word always, right? And you said 10 years ago you saw the trends. So nothing happens in the blink of the eye, right? There might be some anomalies that happen, like disasters, and COVID kind of hit us suddenly, but there are trends that lead up to this. And so with a mindset, you can prepare for these trends and you can be ahead of the curve. So that's what I always look at. And that's what we do with our training. And what we give people is the mindset to say, your industry is going to change. Again, go back old times. Horseshoes, people who made horseshoes were doing wonderfully, right? Living high, living very wealthy lives. Then cars came around, then there's not as much need for horseshoes. So you have to segue. So yeah, you said the old ways, methodology, trends. So people have to start looking at it now. And if you're behind the trend, you have to catch up. And again, mindset will help. So don't look at what you can't do or what's not working. Look at what's going to work in 2025. And again, I think discussions like this will definitely help people come to the realization that good or bad, the old ways are not going to continue on in 2025. And you have to adapt. You have to get with people who are forward thinkers, people who are willing to work on mindset shifts and say, okay, what do I do now? And that's what we're here to help with.
So one of the things which come to my mind is the old mindsets. When you talk about the old mindsets, the problem with the old mindsets is that they are old in the first place. And the second is the mindset takes a lot of time to change, a lot of time. Like it requires a significant experience, bad or good, then the mindset changes. And I'm saying to everybody, Why wait for that incident? Why wait for that time where when you have to be forced to change your mindset? Why not do it willingly? It's like a very simple example. If a businessman sees a trend that is he's going to lose revenue, why wait till the time when he loses all the employees? Do it beforehand. Like
Mhm.
all the do it in the first place and proactively do it. So with that being said, Galit, you had some questions.
Yes, I actually did, especially when it comes to mindset. Um, when you were dealing with especially a lot of corporate executives and their teams, half of the team might agree with the change, the other half might not. So there's going to be a lot of disagreements. How would you bring mindset to the equation of making sure that a corporation is all in?
Great question. Because disagreements are, first of all, I want to recognize that disagreements are a sign of intelligent person. He has his own viewpoint. The second thing is, it's impossible for companies to avoid conflict within their teams. Impossible. Because it's a human nature. And people are going to stand their ground. And you need people who stand their ground. You don't need people who are going to bend and say, yes, sir. That doesn't bring in the perspective of that person. Now, the companies which are stuck in the old ways of working, they it is very difficult for them to change. I fully acknowledge that because they're making money. The first sign when the organization wants to change, when their product line disappears or loses the favor of the customer, that's the time where serious changes, serious rethinking happens. That what went wrong. Uh, I'll give one example of a very large company in Indianapolis. And one of the salesmen from a large enterprise software company was telling him that, hey, whatever you have done is not going to help you. And you have to buy my software to make it work. I'm not taking anybody's name because people will know immediately if they're watching. The CEO very graciously said, happened right in front of my eyes, said, son, I grew this company from $4 to $4 billion. I must have done something right. And this was a striking moment for me, that whatever works is the strategy. But when it stops working, is that schedule time is time to rethink. It stops working. So the only thing which people can do before they reach that stage of emergency, they should start programs based on mindset, how to remove the bottlenecks of procrastination, bottleneck of like people saying think of their professional excellence, and that is a bottleneck also because it inhibits the teamwork. And the third is the bottleneck of their own mindset of complacency. When you remove complacency, procrastination, you have all the solutions there. And people say that the mother of all inventions is a need. I totally disagree with that, because the mother of all inventions has been the profit. Because in the corporate world, that's the only thing counts.
Correct.
Yeah. Richard, you want to add something, or you will?
Yeah, yeah, and along those same lines, like you're saying, is there's always going to be dissension, because a company has an agenda and it has its direction. It's like steering a ship. So it's up to the leader and the company to realize what motivates their employees. And like you said, money is a motivator in most cases, right? It could be other things, but that's one of the first places to start. So if you're going to give improved tactics or improved measures for your salespeople to make money, they'll be on board really quick. They might be reluctant at first, but then they see five other people on the team making money. Then they're all of a going to say, well, what are they doing and how are they doing it? I want to go and learn that. So I think that's the key is not looking at the motivation of the big company, because those days are gone, right? Basically the loyalty of an IBM, the loyalty of a Nortel, 25, 30 years, Corning, all of those things are gone. So you can't use those tactics. It's just like sailing a ship back in the days of colonial conquering, right? Some people wanted to go there because they wanted a fresh start. Some people wanted land. Some people wanted, new food. So whatever the motivation is on your journey, you have to figure out what's going to motivate your team. But it's not going to be one size fits all.
This is the ancient textbook of Arthashastra. It's a Sanskrit textbook. Has documented all, especially for business people, has some techniques that how a businessman can succeed. And these principles have not changed for thousands of years. Tools
Mhm.
have changed, but people's mindset is the same. It's deteriorated, not advanced, deteriorated, but not. But the principles have been the same of the business. Supply and demand has always been the basis of any business. But what we need today is, in the wild rush for unprecedented profits, what we have destroyed is the peace, the happiness of the individual who is going to work for it.
Mhm.
And believe me, like when, so the who's the number one economy keeps changing. Like in 1700s, India was the number one economy as per Angus Madison, a American researcher, and who has documented that India was controlling 23% of the world trade. Then Indochina came in. Indochina was controlling 23% of the world trade. When we say India, means Indochina because some same region. And now it's USA controlling 22% of the world trade. So it's the pole shifts keep changing, but the business principles are the same. Nothing has changed. What I think what we should do is go back to the old mindset where, and that's what we specialize. I'm building on my Transcending the Mind book, where we address certain sections of the mind. Whenever we talk about the science of mind, only one book talks about it in the whole world, that is yoga. No other book talks about it. No other book. There are many people have talked about psychology and Freudian methods and other. They were all meant for exploitation in many ways, but the book Transcending the Mind is all about expanding the human frontier, and that's what we can do together through these trainings. Is that through specific focus we can invigorate that part of the mind or intelligence to make better decisions, and don't spread the hopelessness that is usually in the industry. Galit, you had more questions also, you can go ahead with that.
Yes. Yes. So, how much do you feel that a corporation or a top CEO or executive should places money and focus on change management? Um, like, do you wait until the last second, or do you spend money preparing for something that might happen? What would
Great,
your advice be?
great question. My experience has been management after the implementation doesn't make sense because now you need to fit into the new model. I
Okay.
think the keeping the outcomes in mind, change management must start before the implementation starts of any project, any software or process implementation or program implementation. Change management must begin before. The training of the employees must start as a first step in where you want to go, because it oftentimes you waste a lot of time in fitting the new product into the existing company culture. So once you fit the when you change the company culture of what you want to be, then you begin the software implementation. That makes more sense. But often 90% of times people do the reverse.
Right.
They spend billions of dollars and then they hire some expensive consultants to do the change management. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I think a lot of times companies, like, people get into habits that things are going smooth. And of course, there's a cost, financially, and a cost to morale to make changes. So people put it off. I've seen that in my experience in the security world where enterprise systems had to be changed because we got the date that this system is going off the shelf on this date. And lots of people waited to the last possible second to make the change because it's a financial investment. It's like you say, a culture, a training. But I agree with you. You have to do it. The sooner the better. The sooner the better. Once you realize that down the road, and it's always going to change in this industry. There's no way in the tech world that you think you're going to be set for the next 20 years. That's what is it, a 5, 10 year shelf life, if that, and then you still need to be preparing before the 5 years, before the 10 years, because change is inevitable.
3 years.
Yeah.
Every 3 years, technology changes,
Mhm.
and the when you talk about large corporations, especially if you can include both family based and also stock stocks basis company, equity based companies, the the biggest expenditure comes in redoing the project,
Mhm.
any project, because companies run on projects, and so every project brings in some innovation in the companies, whether it's small or big. And what I would say is that 2025 is an year of growth, I see, even though astrologers have predicted a doom scenario. But whenever there is a doom, there is a growth also.
Yeah.
It's an investment year, and this is a time to invest in changing mindsets, changing processes, changing strategies. But it all begins with the mindset in any way. And when you talk about conscious mindset, is that's where the change actually begins. You first acknowledge the problem. Old mindsets do not deliver new results. It's simple, not possible even for me also. Normally I don't do the shows with the suits on, but today I'm wearing a suit, and it's a new mindset to tackle the new audience that we want to guide actually and help people. You had more questions, Galit?
Yes, yes. I did. Speaking about changing mindsets, and you were acknowledging that every 3 years, you need to upgrade, update. Um, should your mindset keep changing?
Excellent question. Again we get into the science of the mind actually. Mind is the repository of past experiences, and that's where how the mind functions. So when you say mindset, that means a series of experiences is collectively making up a personality. Now above the mind is intelligence, and when we say mindset change, that means we need to strengthen the intelligence. And that's exactly what we are doing when we say our conscious mindset project, where we are strengthening people's ability to take faster decisions, quicker decisions, and effectuate a change. Because it's like a surgical operation. When a surgeon enters a operation ward, then he picks up a knife which they use. I don't know the exact name, scalpel or
Scalpel.
some,
Yeah.
and that knife is sharper than any other knife in the world and stronger. And the precision cuts are made, and it actually makes people healthy, even though it's a violence. So same way, I think we'll have to change the old mindsets by stronger intelligence. So it's in Sanskrit the word hridaya chintati, cutting the knots in the heart and then beginning the change. Uh, and it's a process, and that's why I've designed these programs and Learn Think Share, where we can actually use these techniques to make faster decisions.
And one key point on that, Adi, which everything you said, and the thing that people miss in the big corporate structures, they think it's all a group effort that everybody steps together, and that's great in a fantasy world, but it's up to each individual. And so we're working with each individual. We're doing corporate training, but the CEO will come and he has to work on his own heart and own mindset, and each individual has to reset their own mindset, and then they bring that to the equation. So it's not a blanket wave the wand and everybody in the company all of a sudden has drank the Kool-Aid. So it's an individual contribution, and then each person will develop their own intelligence and their mindset to move forward and be a contributing factor to the whole. And just like in society, so you become a better person in society, in your family, in your community, and in life.
Great point. Now you mentioned the team actually. Yes, you're right, because the entire responsibility for the organization's well-being is to one person. and he has a
Mhm.
team of advisors. And if they don't think alike, the boardrooms can be very noisy. We all know that. And that noise affects the rest of the company, affects shareholders, everybody else. And we are targeting those boardrooms. And I want those boardrooms to join us because those boardrooms can make or change the future of an employee. Yeah, go ahead, Galit. You have any more other question you have? Then we take the audience questions.
Okay. My question would have to be about the Salesforce itself. Not everybody in the Salesforce obviously will have the same mindset as the CEO or the top executives, but a lot of executives think that um, hiring a more aggressive sales team, hiring more people means higher profitability, but that's not necessarily the case. Um, so would you agree that maybe you should focus on the mindset of your current team or let go and start fresh?
Excellent question. It ties into the recent controversy on immigration also. So it's in USA, more and more companies are finding it difficult to hire, and it's difficult that talent pool is not available. And so replacing the sales teams is no longer an attractive option actually, because they have already invested in them. And on an average, a salesperson receives, it's 35% of his time is spent in training. Just put it that way. And companies spent collectively last year, all US companies spent $380 billion in training collectively. $380 billion in training. And it's such a lot. And out of those trainings, I can tell you that at least 20% of that would be just to the salespeople. On top of YouTube free videos, on top of free Instagram videos and everything else. So replacing is not necessarily the best option. The better option is, like you said, that we get into their mindsets and see the bottlenecks. Every salesperson thinks differently. And when you said Salesforce, she was not talking about the product, she's talking about the people. So, and every individual thinks differently, and the solutions for every individual are different also. But the solutions for the team are the same, for common solutions. So in our program, what I think is we have program for the individual and the program for the team, separate teams. Firing is not an option in today's economy. And believe me, I think the joint family concept is coming back. We have seen that here, Dr. Ankit Shah also, that yes, the for joint family concept is coming back because the expenses of living outside alone is not possible. So many such changes are needed in our sales operations also. And I think that is, well, I'll tell you one classical example. I was part of that system where you used to hire and fire on will, because we had abundant manpower just 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now to find a replacement takes 4 months, and it's cheaper to retain an existing employee than to hire a new one and retrain them. Obviously some people may have some success, and I know some companies who work on as a just they fire at will. But even for them, if you go to the enterprise sales market of software, impossible to find a replacement, impossible. And that's the most difficult sale because it's a concept sale. You're not selling a software, you're selling a vision, you're selling a strategy, you're selling a dream, and that's how you sell it. I mean, this is what my book also talks about, the solo business. All right, then you have any comments, Richard, and we'll move on to questions.
Yeah, we can move on to questions. Yeah, you summed it up nicely. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Kushagra Agarwal, I read in Hindi, but I'm going to read in English for everybody else. Is I'm an actor by profession, but I want to start a business. Please tell me Sanatan economics and sustainable business. If you're in India, I would suggest you to contact Dr. Ankit Shah because he does that business, and he can help you. But here, what I can tell you is that do what you like to do. So start a business for what you like to do, and that's the first my personal advice to you. And see where your skill sets are. Like if you think your skill set is in a simple thing like running a kitchen, and you're very good in that, so it's probably always advisable to go where you're skilled at. My 2 cents over there. If you go and dream of becoming someone else, it's not going to help you. And those companies, nobody succeeds. A good chef makes a good restaurant, believe me. Prashant, thank you so much for becoming a member. And Jai Shri Ram, Guest Quadrant. Andrew Aranda, thank you very much for watching us. And I'm a citizen of Apache Nation also, so thank you. He's a vice chairman.
No, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
And Quest Quadrant, many startup developing SaaS platform, software as a service platform for IoT-based solutions for sustainability management, net zero water management. Actually, it's a great concept, but the IoT concept is becoming so common now because all devices are connected, and it's a good concept, and I think the growth will be there. But the growth in that segment is on tools. So if you want to have any tool, physical tool, and software connections. So just understand software is the brain and mind and intelligence of a tool. So if you have a physical tool connected to a software or an app, it's going to work. The most important thing is ease of use, less buttons, I can tell you, and small device, pocket based devices, handheld devices, they work very well. And I can give you a great business idea. Start a Indian satellite connected phones business that doesn't exist right now. The Navik based satellite phones will really help if you want to do something new. And how do I see the future of cloud based SaaS in era of AI? Very challenging because AI. Understand one thing: AI is an existing technology for since 1937. But now, with the advent of phones and the processing power and the memory becoming cheaper, is widespread. Now, in the era of AI, it depends on which AI you connect to. I personally love Perplexity.ai, which is an aggregator site, and there are many X-based AI routines also. So you'll have to choose which AI platform you want to use, and the future of cloud-based SaaS platforms will always be there because somewhere that software has to stay. Somewhere has to stay. It has to be in physical servers somewhere. So that era is always going to be there. There are a lot of new entrants in that. There are companies in Brazil now, there are companies in Europe now, there are companies in USA, companies in India, Singapore, China. So depending on which market you want to serve, that's where the cloud-based platform you need to choose. But AI is going to enhance the ease of use, but at the same time is going to actually destroy many jobs which you were doing before, especially support based jobs. And so it has definitely plus point, and plus for entrepreneurs is easier because entrepreneurs would like to think, oh, I can cut off the supply, where do I support it? So now you have AI engines to support you. So entrepreneurs is a great thing. In fact, in the gaming industry, and we have a game called Gaming Cipher, Sattology Treasure Hunt, which is run by Galit, and she has been promoting games because it's a fantastic way to enhance your intelligence quotient, according to me. Because people who are into games, they're very smart thinkers, very quick thinkers. So that's a good. There also the AI based softwares can really help in customer service. Andrew Aranda has an advice for us. Never do business with family has been extremely basic business model. Would you agree with this approach? Actually, you are right. Friends and family, you don't do business with them because relationships are different. And I also want to address a very important thing on mindset. When you fill your companies with only your relatives, then you all think alike. So the mindset in the chain is that company only functions for that particular family model. But unfortunately, I'll tell you, most successful companies are family owned because there is a personal passion to delivering quality. So Italian restaurants from Chicago, amazing example, and many other business houses which are run by the family, including Emerson's, very great example of these companies. So family based businesses actually deliver quality, and but never do business with family. Now that is also sane advice because you are exchanging money from right hand to left hand, so pockets are still the same because it's the same pant. So you put your money cash in the right pocket and you try to move it to left pocket, it's not going to work. But what I say is that carefully choose partners. Generally the mindset should be similar for the promoters, but for execution and running the companies for a long term you need diverse mindset. Same mindsets don't take the companies forward.
Yeah, so I agree with that in its essence, but I stay away from the word never, right? So I never, never, never anything. But so what I look at with business, and as you see, I'm with Khalid, who's involved in the business with Adi and myself, and we've run a martial arts school together. So I use the same advice, whether it's someone in your family or not. I think this is where people go wrong. You have to do due diligence when you select a business partner, whoever you go into business with. And so I think what happens, unfortunately, when people get involved with their brother, sister, mother, cousin, they let emotion get involved, one. And two, it's often money. Say the father has money and he says, here, son, go over run a business. I'm good. But you don't have clear guidelines on what the father's role is and what his money is and how you're going to pay him back. So I've seen that within lots of businesses that I work with, that there's no clear foundation of when they start between the father and the mother and the brother and sister. So it leads to conflict. But I also see the same thing with people who come together as business partners with no relations if they don't have clear guidelines on their roles. So each person has a clear role. It's defined from day one. Of course, you have to adapt, but I see families coming in emotion and they don't do due diligence.
Great point, Mr. Gordon. Mr. India is asking questions. How do programming with ethics keeps its place in the growing AI era? Is something that also relates to late Sushil Balaji raised his voice for. Well, ethics is a big problem in many of these industries because you don't know who are the promoters, and anyone who wants to be, and it's a very sad story what happened to Sushil Balaji. All Indian Americans have raised a voice, and including Elon Musk has raised a voice for that. And but sometimes when you see the promoters' interests are not aligned with your interests, to just to be safe, and I think FBI is going to investigate this case also. Uh, when your interests are not aligned with the promoter's interests, and you notice that early, don't put energies in that company. Period. Because at any given point of time, it's going to work against you. This is the whole point of mindset. So not only an employer selects you for job, you also choose an employer where you will want to get money from. So the choice is on both sides. You can also reject them and they can also reject you. It's equal opportunity. So keep that in mind. Just because somebody is giving you a job offer doesn't mean they're superior to you or anything else. I've been in business many times. I worked with same philosophy. You choose the employer and the employer also chooses you. That's where the match happens. So do a proper research before you go to any job. Now, desperate times need desperate measures. I agree with that. If you're out of job and you want to start working, it's better to choose work in an era which you like to do. Personal hobby is a great example. Personal skills is a great example. So if your skills and hobby align, that's a perfect job. Try that.
And also along those lines, Eddie, within anything, but especially AI, there's opportunity for, misplaced ethics. But there's always been throughout time. So I think luckily what happens is that companies will rise to the top based on their ethical stand. And so therefore they will outshine the people who are cutting corners and not doing things ethically and above the board. So luckily there's always companies that are going to maintain that high level and they will get recognized for it.
Mr. India, thank you. Jai Jagannath, thank you very much. Abhishek Kumar, Jai Hanuman, thank you. And Viram Singh, thank you for Sat Sri Akal, Jai Shri Ram. Thank you all. All of you are into business or jobs. So this program will be on Wednesdays, and you can join us Wednesdays at 10 a.m. For some reason, we could not do that yesterday. And I would like to see you more and more joining, get your answers, and also sign up at learnthinkshare.com, especially if you're in US, UK, Canada, Mexico. That's the regions we are serving right now. We are not going beyond this. So thank you all very much, and I will see you later. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.